In the vast, silent expanse of the Greenland ice cap, a story of war, survival, and incredible rediscovery lay frozen in time for half a century. This is the tale of the Lost Squadron and a legendary P-38 fighter plane, later nicknamed Glacier Girl. Our story begins in the summer of 1942, at the height of World War II. Operation Bolero was in full swing, a massive effort to ferry American aircraft across the Atlantic to aid the Allied forces in Europe. Among these planes were 6 P-38 Lightning fighters and 2 B-17 Flying Fortress bombers. This group, codenamed Tomcat, embarked on a treacherous journey, flying from Greenland to Iceland. But the Arctic is a cruel and unpredictable master. They flew straight into a blizzard, a wall of white that disoriented their navigation and drained their fuel. With no other option, the 8 aircraft were forced to make a harrowing emergency landing on the Greenland ice sheet. Miraculously, all 25 crew members survived the ordeal. For 9 long days, they battled the freezing temperatures, huddled together for warmth, until a rescue team finally reached them. The men were saved, but their planes were abandoned, left to be swallowed by the ever-shifting ice. They became a footnote in the history of the war, a ghost fleet known as the Lost Squadron. For 50 years, the story was just that, a story. A legend whispered among aviation enthusiasts and historians. The planes were believed to be lost forever, crushed and buried under an unimaginable weight of ice. But some people just can't let a good mystery go. In the 1980s, a group of American aviation enthusiasts, led by Pat Epps and Richard Taylor, became obsessed with finding the Lost Squadron. They believed the planes could be recovered and even restored to flying condition. Many called them crazy. Experts predicted the aircraft would be buried under hundreds of feet of ice and likely crushed into scrap metal. The team mounted several expeditions, armed with primitive radar and sheer determination. They faced brutal weather, equipment failures, and the constant danger of the unforgiving polar environment. Their early attempts were fruitless, finding nothing but ice. It seemed the skeptics were right. But in 1990, their persistence paid off. Using a sophisticated new piece of technology, a steam-powered probe designed to melt through the ice, they hit something solid. It was metal. Excitement surged through the team. They had found one of the planes. But which one, and in what condition? Over the next 2 years, they embarked on an audacious and unprecedented recovery mission. The team had to dig a massive cavern, melting their way down, inch by painstaking inch. Finally, at a staggering depth of 268 feet, they broke through into an ice cave. And there she was, a P-38 Lightning, remarkably preserved in her frozen tomb. The ice had acted like a time capsule, protecting the aircraft from the elements. While the weight had caused some damage, she was largely intact. They lovingly nicknamed her Glacier Girl, extracting a multi-ton fighter plane from nearly 300 feet below the surface. Of a glacier is no small feat. It was a monumental engineering challenge. The team had to carefully disassemble the aircraft piece by piece, wings, engines, fuselage all, while working in a claustrophobic sub-zero cavern. Each component was meticulously labeled and hoisted to the surface through the narrow shaft they had melted. After months of grueling work, the last piece of Glacier Girl was finally brought into the sunlight, seeing the sky for the first time in 50 years. The disassembled plane was shipped back to Middlesboro, Kentucky, where the real challenge began, the restoration. The restoration of Glacier Girl was a decade-long labor of love. A dedicated team of mechanics and volunteers painstakingly rebuilt the aircraft. They sourced rare parts, fabricated new ones from original blueprints, and reassembled the entire plane with historical accuracy. It was like putting together the world's most complicated and expensive jigsaw puzzle. About 80% of the original aircraft was salvageable. Finally, in 2002, 10 years after her recovery, the moment of truth arrived. The roar of Glacier Girl's twin Allison engines once again split the air. With her original pilot from the restoration team at the controls, she lifted off the runway, soaring into the sky. A plane once lost to the ice was flying again, a living testament to the determination of those who refused to let her story end. But the story of the Lost Squadron had another, more somber chapter. During the recovery of Glacier Girl, another discovery was made. In 1942, a U.S. Coast Guard Grumman amphibious plane, sent to rescue the crew of a different downed B-17, crashed during a whiteout. The three-man crew, including the pilot Lieutenant John Pritchard, and their passenger, a radio man from the B-17 they were trying to save, were lost. In 2012, a new search team, using ground-penetrating radar, located the wreckage of this rescue plane, the Grumman Duck, buried under the ice. The following year, a recovery mission was launched by the U.S. government and a non-profit group called the Fallen American Veterans Foundation. They battled extreme conditions to recover the remains of the heroes who had died trying to save others. One of the recovered crewmen was Lieutenant Robert Wilson. After 70 years entombed in the ice, he was finally brought home. In 2014, with full military honors, Lieutenant Wilson was laid to rest in Arlington National Cemetery. His sacrifice, and the sacrifice of his crewmates, was finally given the recognition it deserved. The incredible saga of Glacier Girl and the Lost Squadron is more than just a story about airplanes. It's a story about human courage, the courage of the World War, two pilots who flew into the unknown, the persistence of the explorers who refused to give up the search, and the dedication of the restorers who brought a piece of history back to life. It's also a solemn reminder of the sacrifices made during the war and the importance of remembering and honoring those who never made it home. Today, Glacier Girl is a flying museum piece, a star at air shows across the country, thrilling crowds with the sight and sound of a true World War II legend. She is a symbol of resilience, a ghost from the past that flies again, carrying the stories of all those who were part of her incredible journey through time and ice. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more incredible tales from history. We'll see you next time.